Hello. Well, we're into it. G'day, guys. If anybody can hear me, please chuck something in the comments so that I know I'm actually up and live. It says I'm live. 25 seconds in. So waiting for people to jump on here. Hey guys, can you hear me all right? Everybody can hear me? Please give me thumbs up if people can hear what I'm saying. I can hear you. Awesome. I'm going to walk away a little bit. I'm testing some ear pieces, guys. So if it sounds like I'm going miles and miles away, please let me know. We're going to wait for more people to jump in. So if you can still hear me just as clearly over here, just please say, yep, still sounds good. Was it any different? All right, we'll give it a couple of minutes, probably about 5 past, just so we can let people lock in from different places all over the world. How's everybody going tonight? It's a little bit quiet in here. It's kind of interesting standing here talking to you guys and not hearing anybody talk back. I'm not really used to that. I've got a wife and 3 kids. I'm used to being screamed at. All right. Nice to see you, Andrew, Vince, Pierre. All good? You can hear me all good? Yep. Thanks, guys. Matt, I see people showing up. That's nice. All right, we'll just give it a few more minutes for people to lock in. So if you've got a canopy and you want to follow along, you can do so while we're doing this, or you can just sit and watch. I'm going to try a couple of things. I'm going to try moving the, it's on my laptop, so I'm going to try moving the laptop around as well. So this may work, this may not work. I'm going to stick it on a chair and slide it along at some point to help you guys see what I'm actually doing in some spots. But yeah, if you've got a canopy or something and you want to follow along, you're welcome to do so, or just take notes. And I think this will also be reposted later on the website, so you can look at it later. All right. I had thought about that, Wiley. Well done, mate. I'll maybe do the push-ups at the end of this, eh? I like your thinking, though. It's not an inside joke about the push-ups. Just while we're waiting for people to get in, I've been doing 25 push-ups for 25 days for mental health awareness. So right now, with everybody obviously being locked away, this is part of the reason why Icarus is doing this, just to help us get involved in our community as much as we can while we're kind of isolated. So some people get a little bit down. It's a bit hard being locked away from all of our mates, can't go out and have fun. So the 25 push-ups for 25 days that I've been doing is just to bring awareness to that. You know, anxiety, depression, PTSD. So just before we kick off, it's all good to just to say, if you guys have problems like that, or if you're feeling a little bit down, reach out to your friends. Just say that you're having an off day. So I'll do the push-ups at the end, Wiley. I like what you're thinking though, mate. That's really good. All good. All right. How far in? We're 4 minutes. We'll give it another minute and then we'll get into this. So like I said, if you want to take notes, you can. All you need really, that's pretty simple. I'm going to do this as if you were doing it at home, okay? I could use a hanging rack or I could use our line table to do this, but that's not realistic for most people because they just don't have those facilities. So if you've got a lounge room floor, just an open space, lay your canopy out, or as we call it, flaking it out on the side, and then we can start doing the measurements from there. All we need is a tape measure trusty old tape measure. Just a normal tape measure. Icarus do their measurements in centimetres. Okay, so this tape measure that I'm using uses centimetres and inches, okay? So what we're going to teach you tonight is JYRO Sports method for doing a line or a trim check. There are other methods. PD use a similar method, but it's slightly different. And you can use PD's guide from their website if you have a PD canopy. Their points of measurement are slightly different, okay? But this guide is actually on their website, all right? So you can dive in there. PD's website's a good resource. They've got a lot of good stuff on there. So is JYRO Sports. But if you're going to be doing a accurate line check, contact the guys at the factory, and they will send you out the trim chart. It's called a final measure, okay? And it has the final measure here. You can give them the serial number of your canopy and the size. If you don't have the serial number, you can't read anymore. That's not a big deal. You can just use the size and the type, okay? Just make sure you get the right type, whether it's I'm using a Sapphire 3 tonight, so make sure you give them the right type of canopy as well, whether it be a Sapphire 1, 2, or 3, all right? And the same with any of the other types of canopies, whether it's a JFX or a JFX2, you know, Crossfire 1, 2, or 3. So yeah, so that's what I'll be following tonight, is that. And I'll bring the whiteboard over in a second just so we can have a quick talk about where I'm going to measure from, and then I'll show you how we do the setup, okay? We keep it pretty simple. Just a quick background on who I am. My name's Brett Newman. I own and operate Downward Trend Rigging in Brisbane. We've been rigging in Australia for nearly 20 years. Before that, I was in New Zealand. Been a professional skydiver since 1995. Yeah, been around a little bit, learned some stuff. So met the right people, got the right information. So I was really lucky. All right. So tonight, we're just going to try and help you out with some information. Right, the whiteboard. I'll drag the whiteboard over. Oh, if at any point you can't hear me, please type in "can't hear you" or "didn't understand what you said." If you've got any questions as we're going, I'll keep popping back up to the screen and having a look at the questions as they come through, okay? So if there's anything specific to what I'm doing, if you don't understand, please type in a question straight away. All right, I'll bring the whiteboard over. All right, can everybody see the whiteboard nice and clearly? Somebody please give me a yep or a thumbs up. Can you read what's on it? Anybody? 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 Oh, well, I'll just go ahead anyway, all right? So how to measure your Icarus line set. So we're going to be measuring from the link at the riser. Okay, we're measuring from the base of the line loop through to the attachment tab, the top of the loop, as it passes through the attachment tab. All right, so that gives us our full line length. If we are measuring, that's for an A line. If we are measuring a B line, it is the same thing. It would just be that the line would cascade. We still do the same measurement from that point to that point. It's just keeping the line nice and taut, all right, while we're doing the measurement. Okay, for the brakes, it's a little bit different. We measure from the base of the brake set loop. Okay, the brake set loop is, or you could call it the cat's eye. We measure from the base of the brake set loop right through to the canopy. Okay, and it's to the same point, to the apex of the loop at the top of the canopy at the attachment tape for each one of the lines specific to their position on the line map. Okay, you're given a line map. Okay, and it talks about positions on the line map. The end cell is position 1, next rib is 3, next one's 4, next one's 5, and so on. All right, so you're measuring against the line map that you have there. Okay, and then for the final measurement, which is the brake set loop to toggle loop. Okay, so we measure from where the lower part of the steering line is looped around the brake set loop. We measure from there to the very end of the loop at the toggle. So you kind of have to take your toggle off, all right, just to get an accurate measurement for this one. Okay. Any questions on that? Did that make sense? Take a screenshot if you want to see it. All good. Right, I'll get that out of the way. Now I'm going to start moving the, I'll move the computer around a little bit. This is what you call interactive, okay? So I'm going to bring the camera down so you can see kind of how I'm attaching. I'm going to attach the ruler or the tape measure to, let's see if we can get it down here. Okay, so you can see the riser, the top of the riser with the soft link. I'm going to attach using my trusty pull-up cord and my trusty tape measure. The first thing I'm going to do is take my pull-up cord and just make a loop or an overhand knot and slip it over the end of the tape measure, nice and snug. All right, once I've done that, I'm going to pass the end, one of the loose ends of the pull-up cord through the end of the riser, okay, just to secure it there. So it's going to hold it in place. Align the end of the tape measure with the end of the lines, and then just tie the two loose ends together. Nice and secure. All right. As you can see, I can kind of pull on it. There's a little bit of movement. People might say, well, it's not 100% accurate, but the thing is, if it gives me a little bit of variation, all the lines will have that variation. Okay, all the lines will have the same variation in them. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a consistency. Even if the line across the canopy might be half a centimetre out, 0.5 of a centimetre or 5 millimetres out, it's going to be consistent across the canopy, okay? So if it slips a little bit when you tighten it up, that's not the biggest problem in the world, okay? So don't stress too much about that. As long as we get a consistent measurement, which are within about 5 millimetres of what the line map says, the final measure says. Right, once we've tightened that on, now we're going to slide all the way to the other end. We're going to get the canopy out. Okie dokie, guys. Right. So now we're up at the canopy end, the work end of things. So with the canopy flaked on its side, completely on its side, I'm going to start at the A lines. So using, all right, just grab my tape measure. My tape measure and my line map. So following the line map, we have on the line map here, it tells us which line goes to which attachment point. So for the A1 line on an Icarus canopy, the A1 is the center cell lines, all right? The A2 lines are the lines attached either side of the center cell. So we work our way out. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and the end cells are 5. All right? All good? Everybody keeping up with that? Sweet. So to measure, following the line map, it doesn't matter which one I work from. You can have a pen and you can tick off as you go. All right? Just to make sure, or write down the measurement that you get right next to it. That's always the best way to go. There's my pen. All right, so if I start, I'm going to start on the bottom, and then I'll just work my way up. So I'm going to measure A5. And I'm measuring to the top of the loop. should be 313.3, which is pretty accurate. And I'll be honest, I'm at, oh, actually, I'll measure the top one here. I'm at 312.5. So I've there, so I'll write 2.5. Right. Then the next line in from the end cell is 4. So we've gone 5, a 4, and this one should be 313.5, and this one is 313 even. So we're within that 5 millimeters that I was talking about. And because we're using hand tension, okay, we don't always pull exactly the same tension every single time, okay? So we're trying to get a general guide here. If we're getting measurements that are at least 2, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, which is an inch or 2 inches out from what the line map's telling us, then we've got a problem, okay? So normally what we'll see when we're measuring a line set, especially with your A lines, is that the end cell lines or the A5 lines are the lines that have shrunk the most, all right? So they're the ones that generally start out a little bit shorter. This line set should be pretty close to spec because I only relined the canopy the other day and it hasn't been jumped. So we've done A5, then we do A4, then we measure A3. And so we're going to do this all the way across the canopy, all right? Once we get to the center, then we actually have to change. So when we get to A1, we're going to have to then change where we've connected the tape to the riser on the other side, all right? That's just a little bit of a process. Or you can actually tie all of the risers together to make it the same and only tie it up once. It depends on how you want to do it, all right? Depends on your skill level. A lot of people will use a screwdriver. We just use a bar or a screwdriver carefully because screwdrivers have a sharp end. Often I'll just use the bar that I use for my packing tool here. So a smooth round bar, we can put a smooth round bar right through the end. Again, we'll have a look down here. This interactive stuff's unreal. So we can also bring, with the slider below, we bring the slider all the way down. Okay. What you can also do is bringing the risers together so that we have all of the links together. You can push a bar all the way through, holding them all together like that. Okay. So that's another way of only having to attach the tape once. All right. Any questions on that? G'day, John Cook. How are you? Good to see you here. So if I use the screwdriver just to maintain, nice and carefully, please be careful with screwdrivers. They can have a sharp edge on them. And if you damage the end of a line, then you've got a problem. Or the end of the riser. All right, I'm just bringing it up so you can see it a little bit closer. Hopefully this makes sense to you and it's not too confusing. All right, so you can see now that all of the lengths are at the same length, okay? So the ruler, the tape measure, is still attached to the A line in the middle there. Now I don't have to detach it at all. All right, so we'll continue back to measure. Everybody can still see all right? Can still hear me okay? Awesome. So So once we've measured across the canopy, so we've done our A5, A4, A3, A2, still the same measurement, A1. So once we're at A1, then we just go work our way out again on the other side. And then you just ride up the side of the line. So recording what you're doing is probably one of the most important things you can do so that you can see how far your trim is out or how accurate the trim is. All right. Once we've done the measurement of the A lines, we then need to measure the B lines. All right. And the easiest way is to either open the canopy up from the back and then work your way across. It can be a little bit confusing if you work from the back. I often, when I do measurements, will just pull the A line, the A5 out of the way and bring the tape straight in. All right, far less confusing. I don't have all the other lines splayed out all over the top. All right, so the A5 has the stabilizer attached to it. Sorry, the B5 has the stabilizer attached to it. All right, so again, pulling a little bit of tension. Don't pull really, really hard, okay? You just pull to a nice even tension. And according to the line map, B5 should be 319.6. I have 319.2. Okay, so I'm, again, within that 5 millimeters. It's pretty consistent, like I said, across the canopy. If you're within that 5 millimeters, you're doing pretty good. Okay, and then the same process. Just have your tape, holding it nice close, place your line on top, check your measurement against the line map, and then record against your line map. Okay. Once we've measured all the way in, okay, to the center, then we're going to continue right through and then we go right through and out the other side. Okay, so that's all the way through to the B1 line. And now I start the B1 line on the other side. And I just record it again, going back out the other way. So I'm going from the outside to the center and then to the center out. Okay. At rigging facilities like Downward Trend or at the manufacturers, we use slightly different methods for doing this. We would put it up onto a table that is a weighted table. But for general measurements, this is the easiest way to do it. All the way out to the B5 line on the side. Okay. Any questions? No? Yes? All good? Sweet. All good, guys. Right. Sorry that I'm crawling on the floor. Otherwise, I'd have to have it up and I'd be miles away. Right. Now we're going to work our way back. So you can clearly see the C and the D lines. All right. So we've got our C lines and our D lines. A and B have been measured. Now we're going to do C, D, and then we'll do our break lines. All right, as you're bringing it over, what I'll often do, sorry, I just disconnected it at the other end, is I'll bring the tape measure underneath into the middle. I'm just going to reconnect at the other end here for a second, guys. Heaps better. All right. So now, all I need to do, we have our stabilizer on top. Just open the stabilizer. So take your D line and your brake line and open it up so that we can see the C lines. All right. Once we can see into the canopy to the C lines, the first line is the C line C5 on the stabilizer. So again, to the same tension. This is the same process all the way across the canopy. All right. So checking against our line map. And count off the lines as you go. You'll find each canopy manufacturer has a different setup for each one of their canopies. All right, so don't expect to see the same type of trim on every canopy that you handle. All right, some canopies have what they call steps or staggers in the line set. As you look across it, look, that's how the canopy gets the droop tips look. And sometimes the end cell, the number 4 line, the line that's right next to the stabilizer, is one of the longest lines. On Icarus canopies, it's actually one of the longest lines. All right, so it kind of looks a little bit weird, but that's what helps give the canopy the droop tip look. Right, so when we're measuring, again, consistently pulling the same tension as we go all the way across. 4, 5. Good. And now C2, 3, 3. Center. All right, so measuring right to center line there, we're at C1. Okay, on an Icarus canopy, it's easy to tell when you're at C1. The C1 has the reinforcing along the bottom surface between the line attachment tabs of the center cell. That's a reinforcing for the pilot or bag attachment point on the top surface. It comes down and it's the reinforcing along the bottom surface. So that's how you know you're at 1 if you've kind of lost count. Okay, now we work our way back out the other side. And as I said before, if you've had if you've had a recent reline of your canopy, you would have been sent a line map with the line set when it was sent out. On the side of that line map, it'll have the final measure for you. All right. All good. So once we've done all of the measurements right through on the C lines, straighten it out, and then we're going to go and do exactly the same thing with the D lines. Okay, so you can see I'm keeping the D lines nice and taut now as well. Again, D5 is attached to the stabilizer, and we're measuring not to the stabilizer, not to the slider stop, we're measuring right to the tab up at the canopy. 3, 4, 8. 3, 4, 8, 7, spot on. All right, and working our way through. All right, if anybody's got any questions while I'm doing this, please feel free. All right, so I'll do the whole process all the way through the D lines. We'll cut to the chase, we'll do the brake lines now. Okay, so for the brake lines, because I've got this attached to the riser, the tape measure is attached to the riser, I have to make an adjustment at the other end because I can't measure from the top of the risers because the brake set loop isn't attached there. I can attach it there though because I've now added the screwdriver, okay? So what you want to do now is go down and just gently loop the brake set loop over the end of the screwdriver. All right, everybody can see that. Does that make sense? All right. So what we're going to do there, once we've got the brake set loop, we're going to measure all the way, starting at the attachment point 1, all the way out. The top of the loop on 1 should be 350.4. 350.4, spot on. So you can see how accurate, once you've got all of the lines attached using the screwdriver like that, it can be much more accurate, much easier to handle as well. Okay, 344.8, 344.8. Next one should be 345.4, 345.4. And the longest line is the attachment point 5 line, which is 362.2 on the Sapphire 3149. 362.2, spot on. All right, and then we would continue the same thing side of the canopy. All right, once we've done that and we've measured those lines and we're happy and we go, oh look, the trim's pretty good up here, the final check that we're going to need to do is the brake set loop to toggle. Okay, that's the bottom part. Now many people are not comfortable disassembling things or taking them off. All right, so I'm going to show you a little trick. Okay, I'll just tilt this down so you can see. Right, pull your slider all the way down. Okay, once we have the slider all the way down, then we have the toggle, the brake set loop. Going to use the screwdriver again. What we're not going to do is we're not going to toggle completely off. All right, you can take the toggle, so you haven't removed it, just slide it up the line so it stays on the line. All right, attach, and this way here you're going to have to hold, you will have to hold the brake set loop against the screwdriver, or if you're just holding it against the end of the tape, you can hold it at the end of the tape or at the very end of the tape like this and measure up the tape. Okay, this should be 42.1 centimeters, 42.1 centimeters. Okay, does anybody have any questions on what I've just done there? Because I'm about to show you how to do a couple of other little tricks and a couple of other little things that will help you with inspecting your canopies. So if you've got any questions, I've got one question here from Dimitri. What's the recommended pull force when measuring line length? Well, Dimitri, if you're using a line table, we carry, our line table has an 8 kg weight on it, right? So that's what we use. That's to give consistency for the measurements that we're using. When we're doing it like this, you can get really complicated if you want and use a fish scale, but I don't recommend doing that. All right, it's very difficult to be very accurate and you have to tie things on constantly. So if you're just using just regular force, you know, not pulling really hard, like I said, you want the line to be taut or just straight. You want to straighten the line. You don't want to stretch the line, because if you're pulling the same constantly, if you're straining, the longer you do this job, the weaker you get, or the more tired, or the more fatigued your force changes. All right, so what we want you to do is just straighten the line as much as you can and take a measurement from there. And like I said, if you're within a few millimeters of the measurement that's been given by the manufacturer, then you're probably not too far off. All right, many canopies will still perform quite well, even when they can be out of trim by an inch or two. All right, so what we want to see though is a consistent measurement from one side of the canopy to the other. You know, if we see that C5 on left and right are the same and they're within 5 millimeters of what the manufacturer is saying, then that's a really good measurement. All right. If we start to see big differences between left and right, then we've got a problem. All right. Now, the last thing I want to do before we go any further is I just talked about how to measure the brake to toggle. Okay. When we put this back, okay, because we've taken the toggle off the loop, always remember, feed the loop over the bottom. So we have the top of the toggle, the bottom of the toggle. Always feed the loop over the bottom of the toggle so that it slides all the way over the toggle, the handle, up, so that it sits underneath, snug against the grommet. All right? That's the correct installation for a toggle. Place it back in the keeper. Right. I'm just going to move you back up on top, and we're just going to go through how I got the canopy in the position I did before we even started. All right. I'm a little bit old school, so I like going back to how I was taught many years ago, when we were taught, before pro packing came along. Carefully taking my tape measure out. Right, many people say that they find it difficult to get the canopy to its side or flaked onto its side as we see it here. All right. The easiest method, if you've never done this before, the easiest method, first thing you do is pull the slider all the way down to the top of the risers or to the connector links. And we want to pick up, and it doesn't matter whether you do this in the left or the right hand or the right or the left hand, but I'm going to pick up both rear risers in my right hand. Then I'm going to pick up both front risers in my left hand. Okay, so I now have the nose and the tail, and then we just walk up and then we shake the canopy out. Once we've given the canopy a good shake from side to side so the material falls into position, lean back, just give it a gentle swing, lay it onto the ground. All right, once we've got the canopy laid on the ground, step to the top of the canopy. So you're at the top surface, directly in line with the line groups, reach underneath the canopy all the way. So you slide your hands, bring them together and grab the top surface, and the same thing at the back, underneath, so you grab the top surface, roll it in, roll it out, roll it in, flick it out. Okay, so by doing what we've done, we've flaked the canopy on its side, and we can clearly see the line groups, A, B, C, D, and our brake group. All right, that might seem pretty basic, and people go, ooh, but many people I come across don't understand that that's the easiest method to even untangle a canopy out of cutaway. The first thing we always want to do is we always want to flake the canopy out on its side before we even do anything with the lines. All right. Do we have any questions on any of that so far? No? Yes? No? Would you like to see how we measure a line set? I can take the canopy, we'll take the canopy up to our line table. We've got a few minutes left. So what we'll do is we'll take the canopy up to the line table. Our line table is very similar to Icarus, similar but slightly different. If I was going to do a measurement of a line set, this is how I would do the measurement here in the factory. All right, you guys are going to have to come with me for this one. right on the line table. So you can see we're right on the line table. If you haven't seen a table before, okay, it consists of a weight, okay, so it's just like a big, for us, we use a heavy sinker, which is about 8 kilograms. We have it attached to a linear bearing, okay, so the bearing slides nice and freely, but it slides with the constant weight every single time, okay. So the tape measure has been screwed to the base plate, and then the measurements obviously are on the tape measure. So what we do when we're doing a measurement for a canopy, and I know this is the same at Icarus, is if we're measuring the A lines as we did earlier on, I'll bring the canopy up, I gently loosen the loop at the attachment tape, so we've gently loosened it, I place that over the pin at the end, and then I will move all the way down to the riser. You can see. And then I will measure by gently pulling. As you can see, the tape slides, but I don't have to pull it very far. And then I can take my measure from there, and that gives me an accurate measurement every single time. This works really well when we're doing canopy measurements. Okay, if somebody says there's a minor adjustment in a high performance canopy that need to be done. All right, but most people have this facility. All right, so don't stress. That's just how we do it here. All right, does that make sense to everybody? Has anybody got any questions on that? All right, well, that's how we do a line check on a canopy. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I really appreciate your time. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to send them through. And if you'd like to get in contact with NZ Aerosports about line checks or trim charts, just shoot them an email. You can do the live chat with them online, or you can just send an email through to the guys. You'll get in touch with Chris Snell. He'll be able to help you out as well. All right, guys, thanks very much for watching tonight. Really appreciate your time. All the best, and look forward to seeing you on the drop zone soon.